The summer sunlight slanted through the heavy net curtains of General Orlov's office. The room was uncomfortably hot and smelled oppressively of floor polish. Vasin glanced around the table at the colleagues who had, like him, been abruptly summoned. Pushkov, the veteran KGB resident, who had won notoriety in the service by organizing the poisoning of Ukrainian nationalists and other collaborators after the war in Paris and Berlin. Ignatyenko, the pudgy communications man with permanent dents in his flabby temples from his hours spent in headphones. Vasin's team of crack spy catchers all melting in their chairs like ice cream on a hot sidewalk. Nobody spoke. Pushkov took a slim file marked Top Secret from a neat pile in front of him and used it irreverently to fan his face. There was a thumping clamor as the boss bustled in, flushed and irritable, as though it were they who had kept him waiting, not the other way around. Orlov took his place at the head of the table. "Schultz has something for us," grunted Orlov without preamble. Ignoring the men in the room, he fixed his attention on the papers he had brought with him and began reading them with aggressive attention. Vasin might have guessed. Boris Ignatyevich Schultz, the chief watcher on Vasin's surveillance team. Also Vasin's instructor at the KGB school. Also the best surveillance man in the business. Typical of Schultz, after all these fruitless months, to catch some kind of breakthrough on his night shift, and bloody typical of Schultz to call the head of the Special Cases Department, Orlov, rather than report to Vasin, his immediate superior. Schultz was a skinny, stooped man with a cadaverous face and a dapper, clipped mustache. He entered the conference room and winced at the sight of his colleagues, as if at a roomful of particularly unpromising student spies. A young sergeant followed in his wake, lugging a bulky reel-to-reel tape recorder in both arms. As the kid busied himself with plugging in the machine, Schultz settled his lanky body into a chair next to Orlov's, folding into himself like a telescope. "Telephone box on the corner of Maria Bronia Street." Schultz's voice was reedy but commanding. "This morning, just before 6. Listen." Schultz turned the dial that set the machine in motion. An electronic purr, then the rattling clicks of the number being dialed and connected. "Yes, I am listening." "Darya Vladimirovna? Forgive me for calling so early. I wanted to catch you before you left for work." Colonel Oleg Morozov's voice was unmistakable. "There is no Darya Vladimirovna here. You have the wrong number." "My apologies, citizen." Schultz switched off the machine and made a grimace that might have been a smile. Vasin felt his pulse quickening. "Morozov made no follow-up call, Boris Ignatyevich? To another number?" "No follow-up call, Colonel Vasin." Schultz eyed his former pupil down the table with the tiniest nod of approval. "Vasin, perhaps you are not such a total idiot," the old man's look said. Vasin pressed on. "Our target gets up at dawn to make a single call to a wrong number from a phone box. A number he has never called from home, I presume? A number—" "So who picked up?" Orlov spoke over Vasin. "Do we have an address? Have we got her in custody yet?" Schultz made a small moue before answering. "Comrade General, the number is listed to Dmitry Ulyanov Street, 42, the Hotel Ulaanbaatar. That line is installed in the loading bay of the kitchens, in fact, but—" Schultz, with the invincible confidence of the elderly, raised a hand before Orlov could interrupt him. "At 6 in the morning the place is full of delivery men. At least 8 trucks came in between 5:30 and 6:30, according to the watchman, each with one driver and at least one loader. Many kitchen staff and members of the hotel administration passed the area. We have not been able to find any witnesses who saw anyone using the phone."